If you're trying to lower cholesterol, what you stop eating could matter more than what you add. And the real danger? Some of the worst foods for your heart are the ones you'd never expect. Everyday staples that quietly raise LDL, inflame your arteries, and keep your cholesterol stuck, no matter how healthy the rest of your diet looks. In this video, we're exposing the top 5 cholesterol traps that could be sabotaging your progress without you realizing it. If you've been doing everything right and still seeing bad numbers, this is what you need to hear. Granola and healthy breakfast cereals. They look innocent, heart-shaped oat clusters, honey drizzle, maybe even a label screaming high fiber or low fat. But beneath the health halo, most granolas and breakfast cereals are cholesterol saboteurs in disguise. Here's the problem. These foods are often loaded with added sugars, refined grains, and oxidized oils, a triple threat for cholesterol. When you start your day with a bowl of cereal or granola, you flood your system with fast-digesting carbs that spike blood sugar and insulin. And guess what happens next? Your liver kicks into gear, producing more LDL cholesterol and triglycerides as it scrambles to manage the glucose surge. Even worse, many brands toast their granola in canola or soybean oil, which are prone to oxidation at high heat. Oxidized fats don't just raise cholesterol, they damage artery walls and create the perfect storm for plaque buildup. One study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that people with higher intakes of added sugar had significantly higher LDL and lower HDL, regardless of fat intake. That means even if the cereal says low fat, the sugar alone can wreck your lipid profile. And let's not forget the portion size trap. The label might list a serving as 1/4 cup, but how many people stop at that? Most end up eating 2 to 3 times the listed amount, multiplying the sugar, carbs, and inflammatory fats without realizing it. It's a blood sugar roller coaster disguised as breakfast. So, what should you eat instead? Try a bowl of steel-cut oats topped with chia seeds, blueberries, and a spoonful of almond butter. You'll still get the crunch, sweetness, and satisfaction, but with fiber, healthy fat, and nutrients that actually help lower LDL instead of raise it. The bottom line? If your day starts with a cereal box and ends with a cholesterol problem, this might be where it all begins. That healthy breakfast could be the reason your LDL won't budge, no matter how hard you're trying. Rotisserie chicken. It smells amazing, it's affordable, and it feels like a better choice than fast food. But that juicy, golden rotisserie chicken sitting under the grocery store heat lamp? It could quietly be wrecking your cholesterol. Here's why. Most store-bought rotisserie chickens are injected with a sodium solution to keep them moist and flavorful. That's not just salt, it's a mix of preservatives, phosphates, and flavor enhancers that increase blood pressure and promote inflammation. And inflammation is a direct driver of oxidized LDL and arterial plaque. But the real issue isn't just the seasoning, it's the skin. Rotisserie chicken skin contains a high amount of saturated fat, and depending on how it's prepared, trans fats can form during high-temperature roasting, especially when pre-treated with marinades made from low-quality oils. If you're regularly eating the skin, or using the drippings for sauces or gravies, you're taking in fats that can raise LDL cholesterol and worsen triglyceride levels. And the dark meat, while tasty, naturally contains more saturated fat than the lean breast, especially when it's cooked under the skin. And then there's portion control. It's easy to eat more than you'd think when it's pre-cooked and sitting on your kitchen counter. Many people slice off a piece here, nibble a bit there, and before they know it, they've eaten more saturated fat than in a fast food burger. A 2021 analysis in the journal Nutrients found that frequent consumption of roasted poultry, especially when eaten with skin and prepared with additives, was linked to higher LDL cholesterol and triglycerides, particularly in people already at risk for heart disease. So, what's the better move? Roast your own chicken at home using herbs, lemon, and olive oil. Choose skinless breasts or thighs and cook them at lower temperatures to avoid damaging the fats. Or go plant forward a few nights a week with protein-rich lentils, beans, or tofu, seasoned the same way, without the saturated fat surprise. Rotisserie chicken seems like the smart choice, but when it's processed, pre-injected, and loaded with hidden fats, it can become a cholesterol trap that looks deceptively healthy. Full-fat dairy products. For years, full-fat dairy has been at the center of a nutritional debate. Is it healthy, harmful, somewhere in between? The truth lies in the dose and frequency, and for people struggling with high cholesterol, too much full-fat dairy could be silently making things worse. Let's break it down. Full-fat dairy products, like cheese, butter, cream, and whole milk, are high in saturated fat, the kind that raises LDL cholesterol, especially in people who are already genetically prone or metabolically at risk. That doesn't mean these foods are bad across the board, but when they're eaten daily, in large portions, and on top of other high-fat meals, they can tip the balance in the wrong direction. Here's what the science says. A meta-analysis published in the European Journal of Nutrition found that saturated fat from dairy, when consumed in moderate amounts, has a neutral or slightly negative effect on LDL. But when intake exceeds recommended limits, especially in conjunction with low fiber and refined carbs, cholesterol markers often worsen. One major problem is how easy it is to overdo it. A couple slices of cheese on your sandwich, a few tablespoons of cream in your coffee, a bowl of full-fat yogurt with granola. It all adds up. By the end of the day, you've easily blown past your daily saturated fat target without touching a fast food burger. And certain types of cheese are especially dense in cholesterol and sodium. A 1-ounce serving of cheddar contains 6 grams of saturated fat and about 30 milligrams of cholesterol. That doesn't sound like much until you consider that most people eat double or triple that in one sitting and pair it with other cholesterol-raising foods like white bread or processed meats. Plus, dairy doesn't exist in a vacuum. Many full-fat dairy products are part of comfort meals, pizza, creamy pastas, cheesy casseroles that come with a combo of refined carbs and inflammatory oils that amplify their cholesterol impact. So, what's the smarter move? You don't have to ditch dairy completely, but switch to low-fat or fermented versions like kefir or Greek yogurt. Use plant-based spreads instead of butter, and reach for nut-based cheeses if you're cutting back. Most importantly, watch your portion sizes and frequency. A little cheese now and then won't ruin your numbers, but if it's a daily habit, it might be part of the problem. The verdict? Full-fat dairy isn't the villain it was once made out to be. But if your LDL is high and your meals are stacked with cheese, cream, and butter, it might be time to dial it back. Processed meats. If there's one food group consistently linked to heart disease, in study after study, it's processed meats. Bacon, sausage, deli slices, hot dogs, these might be familiar staples, but they're some of the most damaging foods you can eat for your cholesterol and arteries. So, what makes processed meats so harmful? First, they're packed with saturated fat and cholesterol, especially when made from pork or beef. But that's just the beginning. They also contain nitrites and nitrates, preservatives that once digested can turn into compounds called nitrosamines, known to trigger inflammation and damage blood vessel linings. That's a big deal, because inflammation is what makes LDL cholesterol dangerous in the first place. When LDL particles get oxidized in an inflamed environment, they're far more likely to get trapped in your arteries and form plaque. And it's not just the fat or preservatives, it's the frequency. Many people eat processed meats multiple times a week. A few slices of bacon at breakfast, some deli turkey for lunch, sausage in the evening. It adds up fast. A 2020 review in Circulation found that even 2 servings per week of processed meat was associated with a higher risk of cardiovascular disease, particularly in people with already elevated LDL levels. And another study in JAMA Internal Medicine showed that processed meat consumption was linked to increased mortality from heart-related conditions, independent of other lifestyle factors. Here's what often gets overlooked. Many lean deli meats still contain high amounts of sodium and chemical additives, which can raise blood pressure and trigger fluid retention, putting extra strain on your heart and blood vessels. So, what's the better move? Start by cutting down. You don't have to eliminate meat altogether, but swap out cold cuts for grilled chicken, roasted turkey, or plant-based options like lentil patties or hummus wraps. Use herbs, spices, and natural rubs for flavor instead of prepackaged marinades. And if you love bacon, try nitrate-free turkey bacon, or make it a once-a-month treat, not a daily habit. Processed meats are convenient and tasty, but they come with a cost. If your goal is to protect your arteries and lower your cholesterol, this is one of the most impactful places to start. It's not about giving up meat. It's about giving your body the kind that supports heart health, instead of silently sabotaging it. White bread and low-fiber refined carbs. They don't look dangerous. In fact, they seem harmless. Toast in the morning, a sandwich at lunch, maybe some pasta at dinner. But behind the simplicity of white bread and other low-fiber refined carbs is a metabolic chain reaction that can quietly sabotage your cholesterol levels every single day. Here's what happens. When you eat refined carbs, like white bread, crackers, or even many types of pasta, your body digests them extremely quickly. That causes a sharp spike in blood sugar, followed by a surge in insulin, your body's fat storage hormone. And when insulin is constantly elevated, your liver starts converting excess sugar into triglycerides and VLDL particles, which are the precursors to bad cholesterol, LDL. But that's not all. These types of carbs also tend to be low in fiber, and fiber is your body's natural way of removing cholesterol through digestion. Without it, your cholesterol recycling system becomes inefficient. So now you've got rising LDL, fewer ways to clear it, and more triglycerides forming in the background. A study published in the journal Metabolism found that replacing refined carbohydrates with whole grains significantly lowered LDL cholesterol and total cholesterol, even without changing total fat intake. That's how powerful carbohydrate quality is. Another overlooked problem? Portion distortion. White bread and refined carbs don't make you feel full for long. That leads to overeating, frequent snacking, and more opportunities for cholesterol and blood sugar to spiral out of control. It becomes a vicious loop. Your energy crashes, your cravings spike, and your liver works overtime trying to clean up the mess. And let's not forget the combination effect. Refined carbs are often paired with the worst dietary fats. Think buttered toast, white bread with cheese, crackers with processed meats. This combo of low fiber, high saturated fat, and high glycemic load is one of the most dangerous for cardiovascular health. So, what should you eat instead? Switch to whole grain bread, sprouted grain wraps, quinoa, steel-cut oats, and legume-based pastas. These options are rich in fiber, digest more slowly, and help stabilize blood sugar, giving your liver and heart a much-needed break. If you're already working to lower cholesterol and still eating white bread or low-fiber carbs daily, this might be the single easiest and most powerful shift you can make. The bread on your plate may not look harmful, but for your cholesterol, it could be fueling the very numbers you're trying to lower.